This will be the insight you need. I'm Junfeng. The US economy is in trouble. First quarter GDP contracted 1.6%. The second quarter GDP shrank by 0.9%. That falls into a common definition of recession. 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. Simple and clear. But the Biden administration denies it.
We're not in a recession.
I do not think the U.S. is currently in a recession.
This is not an economy that's in recession.
They are no doubt aware of the role the economy plays in the upcoming midterm elections. Voters consider the economy a top issue when casting votes. But the fact is that in 2020, after poor pandemic control and supply chain disruptions, the Federal Reserve chose to print trillions of dollars to stimulate growth and jobs, laying a foundation for what would later become inflation. Earlier this year, the US provoked the Russian-Ukraine crisis and put over 1,000 sanctions against Russia, which has resulted in energy and commodity price jumps, and further pushed up inflation to an over 40-year high of 9.1% in June. The Biden administration has yet to remove the extra 20% tariffs on Chinese goods, a de facto tax on US consumers and a contributor to inflation. The only move they are taking is raising interest rates aggressively. The Fed has raised rates 4 times this year by 25, 50, 75, and 75 points each time, and is expected to do more in September. The US economy is facing greater risks of stagnation in the second half and 2023. The Biden administration cited record job growth as signs of economic strength, but they didn't mention long COVID. The US House had a hearing on the health and economic consequences of long COVID in July as the situation is getting serious. Brookings Institution estimate that at least 4 million full-time equivalent workers are out of work because of long COVID. That's 2.4% of the US working population. That has, on one hand, led to low unemployment rates and record job vacancies, and on the other hand, resulted in rising jobless claims. Whether the US is in recession is technically determined by an independent organization called the National Bureau of Economic Research. It often uses retrospective methods and decides 1 year later. That's too late to be relevant. Plus, how many people care about a specific, highly technical definition of recession? They can feel it themselves. A majority, or 65% of registered voters who responded to a Morning Consult political poll in July said they believe they are already in a recession. Besides, recession or not, the Biden administration cannot deny that the US economy is no longer in a prosperous state. They cannot deny that American people are struggling with high inflation, especially low-income households. US politicians should put people's interests and not midterm election or power first.